Okay, so this is an Echo GT 225 weed trimmer. It was purchased at Home Depot, and these things are notorious for difficult starting sometimes, especially when they're sitting for a while. Now, I just took this thing out of my garage, and I don't think it's actually been started in a few months. No kidding. There's a little bit of gas in the bottom. As long as there's gas in here, there's enough in there. There's a tube that runs into the bottom. As long as there's enough gas that tube can fit into, like a straw when you're sucking out of a drink, you know that the engine itself will get fuel. So, I have no idea how easy this thing's going to start, but there's a trick to starting these things every time, which works, I would say, about 95% of the time for a difficult starting weed eater. Okay, so, and it's basically these little two-stroke engines. Don't forget, when you're filling these things with fuel, you always have to mix oil in with the fuel. It's a special two-stroke oil. You could pick that up at Home Depot or Lowe's or a lawn and garden shop. So anyway, or Ace or something like that. So remember, you can pull this string 1,000 times if you don't have it for the rest of your life, actually. If you don't have this switch in the on position, this engine is not going to start no matter what you do. Okay? So here's the trick. Simple enough. Put it into the on position. Alright, there's always a primer bulb on these engines. Alright, basically it's a little plastic bulb that when you push it, it pumps fuel from the tank directly into the carburetor. So what happens is, as time goes by, the carburetor gets dry, or it leaks back into the tank, and without fuel into the carburetor, you're not going to start this engine. So, what we're going to do is this. You always start out by doing a few pumps, and you'll start to feel it. When you pump it, it'll start to get hard. That's when you know you just pumped fuel into this carburetor. Now, a lot of people, what they do is they go directly and put this directly into the run position. Of course, it makes sense. You're starting an engine, put it on run, and it should go. Also, a lot of people put it in the cold start position, and they pull and pull and pull. For some reason, they never get to the point where it's going to run. Okay, so here's the trick to these things, okay? Basically, you want to do, of course, don't forget the switch goes on. You prime it. Make sure there's fuel in the tank. There's a little bit in here, not a whole lot, but there's enough to start it. Make sure you put it into the cold position, and you're going to pull it. And you're not going to continue to pull it, and pull it, and pull it. You're just going to pull it a few times until you hear something happen. Now, let me show you what happens. Okay, you can put this thing down. It makes it easier to start like that. All right, so you're going to pull it. Okay, I'm not sure if you were able to hear it, but when I pulled it that fourth time, I actually felt it try to run a little bit. It was like a little brrr. It actually started to, it tried to run, but it's not going to run. So the trick is, at this point, now what you do is, don't go to the on position. Don't keep pulling it in this position. You're going to go midway. Simple enough, right? Okay. When you hear it do that, make sure you have your hand on this throttle. By the way, this thing has not started in several months. I'm saying it's possible this thing hasn't started in 5 or 6 months. So let's give it a try. Put your hand on the throttle. When you hear that thing start to run, we're going to give it some gas. Once you get it started, then you go to full. Knocked off the line, just flew off. Okay. Let's see something. Okay. That procedure works at least 90% of the time to start one of these engines. If for some reason you do exactly what I said and it doesn't start, remember, make sure it's in the on position, prime it a few times till you start to feel the pressure. Don't keep pumping it, because if you keep on pumping this bulb right here, what happens is you can seriously flood this engine. It's not going to start at all. Okay? So then put it in.
Go ahead and you pull the lever. You gotta pull that lever there. You gotta unscrew the. Oh,
So
God.
what I want you to do is make sure this is in the cold position. Pull it a few times till you feel something happen. Then you put it midway. You start it until it runs. You give it some gas while it's running. You flip it into the on position. It's ready to go. Thank you. If you have any questions, please ask and comment. Have a great day.